Hey guys, so I think it's time we talked about Blizzard. um, uh, Pretty much anyone who plays World of Warcraft has been talking about the shit with Blizzard lately. I didn't really want to do anything until more came out, and I'm not going to mention names of people in the company who have supposedly done things because we just still don't have from what I understand, we still don't have a comprehensive list of all the people who are doing these things. But lately, there's been um, going around these emails to people, talking about sexual harassment that's been going on in Blizzard for years, higher ups who just kind of ignored it, and suddenly all these people you have, people like Akalon, um, and other uh, who are as heel versus babyface talking about quitting WoW and blah, blah blah. And I'm thinking that if you're gonna quit a game, do it for the reason of just the game's not exciting anymore, because you have to remember. So let's put this into context. So first, obviously sexual harassment is a terrible thing, whether you're man, woman, it doesn't matter. Sexual harassment is a terrible thing, and you shouldn't have to go through it in a workplace. And it's mostly higher ups who are doing it. So say you have 100 people, right? Say 4 or 5 of those people are doing these terrible things. Why should the other 96, 97 people have to suffer because of it? By boycotting and not providing money for these people, they're the ones who are going to hurt. You really think these higher ups, if these higher ups were to leave today, they could still wipe their asses with $100 bills? The only people who are going to suffer by boycotting are the lower guys, the people on the R team, people who are doing stuff like this, the cinematics, these gorgeous cinematics. They're the ones who are going to suffer. And guess what? If you don't provide money for the company, that means they're not able to pay their employees, which means these innocent people are going to be laid off. All because you wanted to stick it to a couple of people, like a handful of people. Now, obviously, I'm not condoning sexual harassment. I've said before, it is terrible. But to completely drown a company because of a few bad eggs when sexual harassment happens in every company, it's a little ridiculous. People are saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to quit WoW because of this. Don't quit WoW because of that. You can still condemn what these people are doing while supporting the people who are innocent, the ones who had nothing to do with it, the ones who are trying to make a living for themselves, the people who have a mortgage to pay, a family to take care of. These higher ups, like I said, they could leave today and they could still wipe their asses with $100 bills. Those are not the one people who are going to be affected. It's the little guy who's going to be affected. Um, so the boycotting thing is, oh, I'm going to stop playing and this and that. If you want to stop playing retail, that's fine. But at least say, at least because it's not fun anymore. You know, I had my subscription and I was playing Burning Crusade Classic, which I still love. And if I had the money for it right now, I would still be playing Burning Crusade Classic. But I had deleted, main WoW, retail, not retail, but current WoW, because I just didn't find Shadowlands appealing. I wanted to free some space, like 70 something gigs up on my computer. So I'm like, let me get rid of WoW. I don't play it anymore. And then I'm like, okay, well, patch 9.2 came out. Let me give it a chance. I get in. I'm like, okay, I'm still bored. I'm still bored. And it's been going downhill since Activision joined in 2008. Luckily enough, Wrath of the Lich King was pretty much completed by that point, so they couldn't fuck that up. But they had their hand in Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria, which, for the most part, I like Mists of Pandaria. But the fact is, we had, Siege of Orgrimmar for 18 months. And then we had Warlords of Draenor, and we had the Hellfire Citadel for like 18 months. And now we have, more microtransactions, like, oh yeah, you don't want to actually play the fucking game? Here's $60, pay $60, an insta boost to the freaking max level. You know? Um, so there's so many more microtransactions. I mean, if you look at back in the day, there weren't that many microtransactions. There was stuff to switch servers, change your guild name, just a few things. But now there's everything. There's for toys, there's for mounts, there's for other services, there's for the WoW token, there's bundles, and they've been trying to reach out to the Chinese market, which is the whole reason for with the Diablo, the mobile Diablo game, is because they're trying to reach the Chinese market, and they're just becoming more and more microtransaction. Um, and that's one reason for that's mainly because of Activision. Look at Activision games; they're plagued with fucking microtransactions. Um, but so if you're going to distance yourself from a game, do it for reasons like that because you don't like their practices, or the game's not fun anymore. Don't just say, "Oh well, a few people did something terrible, so I'm just not going to support the company at all." Because, like I said, who's really going to be affected? Who are the people really going to suffer? The people who could, the higher ups who could leave and go on living for the rest of their lives with money and wipe their asses with $100 bills? No, it's not them. It's the little guy who's going to suffer. And without providing support to this company or their games, more layoffs are going to have to happen. So those people who had nothing to do with any of this, who are just going to work every day and doing their job, they're going to be laid off. And Blizzard has already laid off enough people as it is. So all this is going to do is add to more layoffs. I mean, apparently they've halted the working on World of Warcraft. They've just like completely stopped working on it. So I, like I said, you can condemn bad behavior but still support a company because that's not the company as a whole. Those few bad people, they don't represent the company as a whole. Unfortunately, they're usually higher ups, but um, when you think of like the like this stuff, the cinematics, those people who are doing it are not the ones who are actually making them. They're the ones who are making sure other people are doing them, getting it done and this and that. The supervisors, essentially, the higher ups. So the only people you're going to hurt are the people who actually make these. Uh, and I think just it's a really shitty thing to do. You're going to uh, condemn a bunch of people to unemployment just because you want to stick it to a few bad eggs that have done terrible things. Like I said, I'm not condoning it, but sexual harassment happens everywhere. If that was, if you know, if okay, so how do I phrase this? Basically, if people were doing now to Blizzard, if they did that with other companies, we'd have no companies. Every company would be out of business because sexual harassment happens in every fucking company. So if people were doing now with other companies that they're doing with Blizzard now, there would be no company at all. There would be no Amazon, there'd be no McDonald's, there would be no fucking fast food, there would be no retail because it happens everywhere. You know, there'd be no government. There would see where the ridiculousness sets in. That's what I'm saying. You can support a company and still condemn the terrible things that people have done because those few people don't represent the company as a whole. Um, but you know, people are coming out saying sexual harassment's happened, sexual advances have happened, um, and some people from allegedly from some of the people that you would see at BlizzCon every year, some of the higher ups who would be on stage every year. Like I said, I'm not naming names until a full comprehensive list comes out of those people. Um, but some of them possibly, you know, so it's a terrible thing. And like I said, regardless of gender, sexual harassment and disgusting things like that, like sexual advances and all that, obviously they should not be tolerated. But to boycott a company and not pay for a game that you like to play simply because of a few bad eggs, it's a little ridiculous. And the only people you're going to hurt are the small guys. And I don't believe in putting people out of a job just to stick it to the higher ups who aren't. Like I said, they could lose their jobs today. They're not going to bat an eye. They're not. They'll be like, Okay, well, early retirement for me. Um, so before you boycott something, just think about all the people you're going to affect. Is it great to send a message saying, "Hey, we're not going to tolerate this"? Of course. But when it's a huge company like Blizzard, who has hundreds and thousands of employees, you know, like I said, out of 100, say it's 100 people, and you only have 3, 4 people who are doing this, that's 96, 97 people who are going to be screwed over because you want to stick it to 3 people. So, um, if you're not going to play the game, that's fine. If you're not going to play the game because it's not fun anymore, that's fine, because there are plenty of people who are not playing retail or current WoW who are still playing Burning Crusade Classic. Um, of course, microtransaction in there. It's like, oh yeah, here's the Dark Portal pass and Dark Portal Deluxe pass and this and that. It's like, what happened to it just being classic? I thought they said there was going to be no microtransaction or anything like that. No, it's like, here, pay for this and you get a mount that didn't exist in the game at the time. Come on. So if you want to boycott someone because of their greed, go ahead. If you want to boycott something because, or not boycott, but just stop playing because it's not fun anymore. But to not play something, to stick it to a handful of people, no, just no. And as I said, I'm not condoning it. Sexual harassment in any form is terrible, and it should not happen in a workplace. And if you are being sexually harassed in a workplace, you need to speak up about it, not wait. Um, and if you go to HR because they said a lot of times HR didn't care or they wouldn't do anything, then you do the next best thing. If you're a huge company like Blizzard, go to the media, go to the news, and call this shit out. Go to a fucking lawyer and see what you can do. Don't just sit on your thumbs and just say, oh, well, oh, there's nothing more I can do. There is always something you can do. So if you are suffering sexual harassment, sexual advances, and all that crap in a workplace, and HR doesn't want to do anything, you go to the authorities. Say, hey, I'm being fucking sexually harassed here. People are, I've been this close to being, raped in there. Go to the authorities. And I'm like, just say that, I've been to HR. They're not taking me seriously. They're not doing anything. And someone will look into it. But not reporting it, and that's another thing. There are a lot of the people there who knew it was going on. They're just as guilty because they knew it was going on and they did nothing about it. So that is a moment where silence is violence. When you know something's happening and you're doing nothing against it, you're part of the problem. So if you're suffering, and it doesn't have to be a big business like Blizzard. If you work at fucking McDonald's and you are suffering going through sexual harassment, report it. Do not wait. Do not just let it go and a couple months goes by and then you say, oh, I'm finally going to say something, because you will not be believed about it. They're going to say, well, why didn't you say something before? If you have HR who isn't doing anything about it, then you call the authorities. Talk to a lawyer. See what they can do about it. Um, it's like I said, the only people right now is the smaller people who are going to be hurt. Same thing that goes for any company. If, like I said, McDonald's, if a certain store is being boycotted because of sexual harassment, guess what? They're not going to be able to pay their employees, and those employees are going to have to be laid off. These people who rely on that job to survive aren't going to be able to work. So, but that's my whole thing about it. Obviously, whoever's doing this, who has ever done it, I hope they get removed from Blizzard. I hope that justice obviously is served. And I hope they get their just desserts. And when they do, obviously, I'm going to make a video about it because I relish in that. I love when people like that get their just desserts, get their comeuppance and all that great stuff, because I don't believe in karma, but I do believe the whole saying, what goes around comes around. If you're going to act like a dick and do that kind of shit, something is going to happen with you. So call it karma, call it, cosmos at work, whatever you want to. But so I hope for swift and swift justice. And for all the people, even if they're higher ups, and they partook in this sort of behavior, they need to be fired. If they sat by and let it happen, they need to be fired. I don't care if they've been at the company for, since its inception. I don't care. If they are partaking in it or they knew it was happening and they did nothing about it, they need to go. They need to fucking go. Completely. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to pause for a second. Um, but yeah, if companies were boycotted and people quit companies like they're doing with Blizzard, every company would be out of business. There would not be anything to provide any services or goods. The government would be shut down. Amazon shut down. Major fast food chains would be shut down. Retailers would be shut down because this type of thing happens everywhere. And obviously, like I said, I'm not condoning it, but you have to acknowledge that it happens. And it happens all over the place. So the only thing you can really do is report it when it happens. Don't wait a week. Don't wait 2 weeks. Don't wait a month. Don't wait a fucking year. When it is happening to you, you report it right away. Because when you report it a year down the line, they're not going to believe you. It's just like with rape victims. They wait 20, 30 years to say, oh yeah, I was raped, but then no one believes them because it's like, well, why didn't you report it to the authorities 20, 30 years ago? So if you are being sexually harassed or, someone's making sexual advances to you, um, report it. If you're being physically abused, report it. Do not wait. If HR doesn't want to listen to you, then you go to the authorities and they will listen to you. Um, just and if you see it happening, report it. If you report it to the manager and they say, "Oh, there's nothing we can do," then you go to HR. It's the same thing. If you're suffering from it, report it. If you see it, report it. And the same kind of thing. If you're just the person seeing it and HR doesn't want to take care of it, you go to the authorities. Don't just sit back and let it happen because all you're doing is allowing those people who are harassing and abusing the employees, you're just allowing them to keep doing it. So don't sit on your thumbs waiting, thinking that, oh, it's going to be perfectly fine, they'll stop. Because it won't. Because apparently this has been going on for quite some time, for years. It's not just a current event. No, this has been going on for years. So if you see it happening, report it. If you're going through it, report it immediately. Don't wait a month. Don't wait a year. Report it. If they're not going to listen to you at the corporation, at the HR, you go to the authorities. And if they don't want to listen, go to the news. Usually when people go onto the news, things tend to be taken more seriously. If you're an employee at Blizzard and HR doesn't want to do anything and authorities don't want to do anything, go to the news and say, hey, we're suffering sexual harassment and this and that. The news, they'll air that. They will have you on and you'll be able to tell your story. That company will look at it and say, oh, geez, we need to do something. So there is always something you can do. But for the people saying, oh, I'm not going to play the game anymore because of a few bad eggs in a company, no. Because the ones you're going to punish are the ones who aren't able to wipe their asses with $100 bills. But, so just something to think about. Anyways, that's it for me. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.